Well, I think they got to make this right. I mean,
Right.
we as the American people deserve to have every Epstein file released with no redactions whatsoever, period. They got to make it right. And we, the American people, ran on transparency. We deserve to see the entire client list.
Yeah.
Every document the government has regarding the Epstein files, we, the American people, should have on an easy-to-access website immediately in a very, very quick fashion. I'm pushing for that both privately and publicly. Just so.
Morning. It's Tuesday, baby. Tuesday. I hope you are doing well on this terrific Tuesday. You're looking absolutely amazing, I must add. Must add that. You do look amazing. And this is video, I don't know. It's either one or two. I'm doing two videos today. It's like dominoes. I've told you before. Sometimes we're better than dominoes, but today we're just matching them. We're matching them out. I was going to be live this evening, but I didn't hear back from Andrew D. Myers until late yesterday. I've got to go back to him, but I'm going to postpone that because we didn't sort of get together over the weekend. I'll do that next Tuesday, as long as that's okay with him. But anyway, let's get straight into meat and potatoes, as we've got a bit to go through. First of all, we're going to start with this. So, news in the air is that Erica Kirk is going to be suing YouTubers and other people, which, what I will say is, well, first of all, let's just have a quick look at Nick Fuentes as he addresses Erica Kirk. We'll go down to this. I've got to play this first, and then I'll come back to that.
But the wife is sort of interesting, and I know I sound like a jerk. Fine. I sound like a jerk. I don't care. That's a question that needs to be answered, and she's in politics now. If she wanted to be a widow, then, she should have just started some fucking foundation and said, we're giving out the Charlie Kirk Memorial Scholarship or something. But she took control of a $500 million all-important political org that just got way more important.
I don't think that could have been put any better, I must say, and that clip was taken from Bring the Asteroid News. If you want to go and follow that channel, of course you can. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of people who are claiming that Erica Kirk is basically suing YouTubers. She's going after people who has defamed the name of Charlie Kirk. Erica Kirk has spoke out against them. One thing I will say is I can't really find anything 100% credible to back that statement up. You can Google it, you can look on various things and see that there are statements suggesting that she is suing different sort of large corporations, and is it Stephen King as well? But I can't find anything 100% credible to say that Erica Kirk is going to be suing YouTubers, for instance. I could be wrong. That's as much as I can find, I can look at, which there could potentially be restrictions on what I can see. I do, for the vast majority of this, have to use VPNs and such, but I still think some of that doesn't get through. But if I'm wrong, do let me know. But can she really? Would that be a good look? Bearing in mind that Charlie Kirk's entire sort of foundation was based on the willingness to listen to opposing arguments. He would listen all the time to people who didn't agree with him, didn't like him, would say horrible things, but his entire premise was like, look, if you disagree, come to the front. We'll have a conversation about it. So in the aftermath of his death, to turn his foundation into a foundation that goes after people who raises questions and things like that, that would not be the best look. Especially when the narrative that's being pushed out is indeed so questionable. You would expect that they would perhaps welcome people who are questioning things, and I know that has also led to the questioning of Erica Kirk, and some of that people will say is unjust, and maybe it is. Do you know what I mean? I know it's not very palatable to question the behaviour of someone who's just lost their husband, and I get it. I understand it. I understand why people get upset about it, but You've got. If you're going to be honest and you're going to be true, then you've got to cover everyone. You've got to look at everyone and say, is this person acting right, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they've had a hand in doing something, but it could mean that they have been influenced by something, they are being manipulated, or even they could be in danger. They themselves could be in a position that they shouldn't be in themselves. You know, at the end of the day, floating around Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA was a lot of money and a lot of incredibly powerful people. And with very powerful people, a lot of money, there are issues. But what I will say, before we go on to the second phase of this video, which you saw the clip at the beginning, let's just go back over to here. Because with respect of this suing situation, there's a lot of people who are obviously don't like the fact that you know, Erica's being called out and things have been spoken about. Like this was a video that I'd covered yesterday, and this person goes, "The roaches are pouring out from the crevices. I'm so disgusted. You have to start suing them. This chick had nothing. She's making bank, calling you a grift and making conspiracy videos. No psych a degree, yet walks people through clip by clip of you." I have a psychology degree, however, which, yes, and I went through it as well, and I could see exactly what this individual was saying, and she weren't making bank at all. That video had been seen by about 2,000 people, which probably equates to less than $10, so she wasn't really making bank in that, not on YouTube, in that specific video anyway. But she raised some valid points. And again, this isn't necessarily about pointing at Erica Kirk and saying, you did something, you killed Charlie Kirk. But it could just be saying that the situation feels off. And the question should be, if it's off, why is it off? Has Erica Kirk been compromised? Is she in a situation that is being forced upon her, which would then point to a bigger situation around this entire story that is unfolding before us? But yeah, as far as Erica Kirk coming out and saying, yes, I'm going to be suing YouTubers, I cannot see that at the moment as being overly credible. I just can't at this stage. So look, we know that this is from 7 months ago. This is Ground News, by the way. I'm not sponsored by Ground News, but I would say if you read the news, go to Ground News and get your news from there. They tell you whether things are leaning left, leaning right, whether in the middle. It measures out how, you know, how trustworthy the source is, who funds it, the factuality levels, everything, and brilliant. You can get a free version of it, or you can pay a small amount that lasts a year. I don't even know what I do. I've got no clue. I think I've got a yearly subscription thing. But it's cheap. But so, Justice Department releases first phase of Epstein Files, and this was 7 months ago. 7 months ago. And where are we with it? Where are we with it now? I'll tell you where we are with it. We seem to be nowhere with it, because there's always something that happens that takes the eye off the ball, and the attention goes somewhere else. And the Charlie Kirk situation, which is, there's an irony here somewhere, because Charlie Kirk, which we're going to see in a second, you saw a tiny segment from at the beginning, but, you know, he was somebody who was apparently, both publicly and privately, pushing for the full release of the Epstein Files. And I think that there's so many powerful people around sort of the Charlie Kirk situation that are looking into what happened to Charlie and digging into this, that, and the other, where they could also be using their power and influence to push something that Charlie Kirk was seemingly, literally right up to before he was assassinated, was pushing to have done. Wouldn't that be a better use of time? I'm not saying stop doing what you're doing, but maybe try to start continuing to use your power to push things that Charlie Kirk wanted to have done, which was the release of the Epstein Files. That's what he wanted. You're going to hear it from himself here. This was What is that doing? So we maximise that screen. There we go. That's better. I thought I had that all prepped. I thought I was going to do something and get it actually prepped for once. But let's listen to what he says. This was 2 months ago. This was uploaded, and this is Charlie Kirk at Florida State University, and he is going to be asked about the Epstein Files.
Yep.
Hey, Charlie. I've been watching you for 2 years, quite some time. I'm actually happy to see you here. But I did have two things. One of them is maybe I misunderstood you earlier, and the first one's kind of big on the news. The first one is, what's your opinion on the Phase 1 release of the Epstein Files? Do you think it was more of a PR stunt with Pam Bondi because she just got into office? And do you think it was right for her to call out on Kash Patel? What do you think is actually going on? And do you think that she genuinely has the files or people are destroying them? And what's going on there?
Well, I think they got to make this right. I mean,
Right.
we as the American people deserve to have every Epstein file released with no redactions whatsoever, period.
right.
And so yesterday, I don't want to comment because a lot of these people are my friends, but they got to make it right. And we, the American people, ran on transparency. We deserve to see the entire client list.
Yeah.
Every document the government has regarding the Epstein files, we, the American people, should have on an easy-to-access website immediately in a very, very quick fashion. I'm pushing for that both privately and publicly, just so you know.
Yeah.
Secondly, there probably are a lot of destroyed documents. I think that's probably the issue.
What do you
But-
think the implications will be on people? Let's say if they're found in government. Let's say if, for whatever reason, somebody in who we know as to be a normal person is caught on one of those files. Like, let's say.
We'll carry on, but again, what you are seeing here is that Charlie Kirk was dealing with this. This is something that he was pushing, as he said, both privately, publicly. And I would argue that this potentially could have played a part in what happened to Charlie Kirk. What you've got to think is, like I just showed you, that 7 months ago they start to release the first phase, and where we are today is that it's come to a grinding halt, and the only reason that has come to a grinding halt is because there are powerful rich people on it, and there is going to be ramifications to this list, and that is there's no ifs or buts about it, is it? It is what it is. You've got a list that is going to expose a lot of people who do not want to be exposed. And the vast majority of those people on that list are going to be very rich and very powerful people. So is it out of the realms of possibility that somebody could have created this scenario, what we see playing out, in order to remove somebody who themselves was wealthy, they were powerful, they had influence, who was behind the scenes, pushing to have this list released? Let me know down below what you think. We talk about other things that could have influenced his death. We know, on a grander scheme of things, that things aren't right. What we're being told, they're just not right. There's a lot of things that don't sit right. Now, don't get me wrong, later on down the line, if this goes to trial and we see everything and they're transparent with it, maybe everything, all the I's will be dotted and the T's will be crossed. Who knows? It's possible. You know, we always sit here hoping that the justice system operates correctly, but very often we're let down by that. But let's listen to the rest of this.
Trump is he's not on the client list, but he's on the flight logs, right? So let's say something like that happens, but they find somebody else on the client list. What do you think the implications are, and what do you think Trump will do about that specific?
Well, okay, so I can say with almost 100% certainty that Trump was not on the flight logs. But as far as the client list, that very specific thing, I don't know if it still exists. I'm worried that was actually deleted, destroyed, or disappeared. But look, statute of limitations for child sex trafficking goes for 30 or 40 years. We should impanel a grand jury, and every person involved in the Epstein child sex trafficking should go to federal prison for the rest of their life. Every single person. We need justice, and we need these people in federal jail.
And then you said earlier when we were talking about my friend here, he's not from this country.
That he then goes off subject. That is the last part of that. He speaks about his friend who's from Mexico after this, I believe. But there you go. There you have it. We've literally got Charlie Kirk just 2 months before he was tragically assassinated at Utah, or in Utah, talking about his involvement in trying to get the Epstein list released to the public. And he made it very clear his stance on it, made his stance on it publicly, and I think he potentially put himself in a very dangerous position. Charlie Kirk was powerful. He was a powerful individual. He had a lot of people who would listen to him, a very powerful movement itself worth a lot of money, and just concerns me that his death has again been one of those things that has brought an abrupt halt to the movement towards the releasing of these files. Eventually this is going to come to an end. This will be, not leading news unless they can stretch it out after October 30th. Perhaps when Tyler Robinson goes back to court, there'll be an explosion. I don't mean a literal explosion, even though that wouldn't fucking surprise me. And that causes an eruption in the media, and this drags out even longer and takes us into next year. Who knows? But if he pleads guilty, yada, 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 that's going to bring this to a fairly abrupt halt. And then what's the next thing going to be? What is the next thing going to be that shifts the eyes away? In the UK at the moment, we've got digital fucking IDs that are the new topic of conversation. More bollocks. But that's for the other channel. I'll speak about that. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think down below. Is Erica Kirk indeed suing people? Is she going to sue everybody? And what sort of ramifications would that have on the very foundation of Turning Point USA and what they were built on? And this situation with Charlie Kirk, could his involvement in trying to work towards the release of the Epstein Files, could that have backfired and played a part in what happened to him? Anyway, love you all. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I hope you have a fantastic one, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Mwah.